So I'm John Zibert, Chief Medical Officer of the Leo Innovation Lab, and we were founded back in 2015. And one of the key take-homes that we have from that beginning is actually that you can have some ambitions in the digital field, but you need to adopt fairly quickly. So I would say over the last 3.5 years, our overall strategy has changed maybe every 6 months. In order to adapt and try to solve the exact problems that patients and doctors are facing in the real world, and not trying to anticipate solutions just to have a technical solution. So over the years we actually had more than 18 smaller projects, you can call them startups, that we established, and what is important to say is that we are not blunt to say that projects didn't work. So we actually closed down a lot of them over time, and today we only have very few of them that are still operating and still chip into our current strategy. What is important is also to say that our overall vision in the beginning was to generate this holistic view on patients, try to figure out what is it that they want support with respect to their daily life, but overall what we found was that patients just want to be like everybody else. They don't want to lose weight, even if that can actually ameliorate their symptoms. What they want to be is like everybody else, and the only time where they really need support is when they interact with their doctor in the clinic. So this is where we're focusing now, trying to help patients in understanding their disease management plans, try to offer the doctor the best opportunities in this area, this plethora of new solutions that actually can help them using, for instance, machine learning and other visual aids tools within the area of AI that actually can help doctors in diagnosing better and in the end actually achieve a better result, a management plan for the patients. So one of the main areas that I'm being a part of is of course being a part of the management team of the Leo Innovation Lab. And what is also important to stress here is that I of course try to ensure that there's a good linkage into the work that we do with respect to having a fit for patients and also doctors. And also furthermore, what we focus a lot on is actually trying to have results, trying to have clinical evidence for our solutions, that being running clinical studies. So the area that I'm overarching is the medical science team. It's our online hospital now consisting of 14 board certified dermatologists, and then also our 2 projects or startups you can call them in the area of virtual clinical trials, trying to decentralize how you do clinical trials, and also in our recruitment process of recruiting patients for clinical trials called Studies on Me. One of the main things that we work on in the iLab is actually try to identify the exact problems that patients and doctors are facing. Compared to what we do in the pharmaceutical industry, where we try to tie in our digital solutions on a brand level, so adding value for the individual brand. But the question is it actually adding value? And I think one of the most important learnings that we had over the time is actually that these solutions that we're building in the pharmaceutical world is creating a lot of smoke out there that makes it difficult for patients and doctors to navigate. Hence, for instance, in psoriasis, there's more than 18 apps, not in 18 different languages, but 18 apps for each language, right? Which makes it super difficult for patients to navigate in this space. What we're trying to do in the iLab is actually trying to see what can we actually do above brand. What can we build that patients and doctors actually adds in to the current flow of managing their diseases. And this is where I think our portfolio of solutions in this space, which is mainly our Imagine app and another one called Skin Coach, which is our telemedicine solution for patients and doctors, where the doctor is enabled to actually either with Imagine to see what happens over time with a patient. So when a patient comes to a consultation, they may even don't have a flare-up of their disease. So there's no symptoms, but just yesterday they had a flare-up, right? So in this case, the patient will be able to document that in a safe way, in a high quality way. And with our telemedicine solutions, it's meant to actually follow up with patients in order to actually schedule the right follow-up times when it's actually necessary to see the patient in the clinic. In this way, we are empowering patients to actually gain more control of their disease, and we're also empowering the doctor in order to understand the disease much better and actually schedule the visits when it's needed. So one of the key things that we also seen is that when we in a pharmaceutical industry run clinical trials, because of the demand of doctors is getting so high, it's super hard to actually recruit doctors to clinical sites. Hence, we've seen over the last 10 years that for each phase 3 study, we actually include approximately 50 to even 100% more clinical sites in order to actually achieve our goal in recruiting the amount of patients we need for our endpoints. And this is of course a huge problem because it makes it very complex, it makes it super cumbersome time-wise, and in the end the timelines are just dragging out, right? So one of the things that we've been trying to look at is how can we actually digitalize the whole way of conducting clinical studies. So far we've conducted more than 9 clinical studies, end-to-end being completely digital, and our aspiration is that this can actually be even more and even more comprehensive. And what we've seen so far is that it's maybe not cheaper, but it's definitely more smooth with respect to running the setup, and you can control the actual enrollment to last patient visit in the study in a much more rigorous way that results in that you can keep up with the timelines, but most importantly, you can also collect more real-world evidence from patients. And that is what we need for the future. We need to figure out how is it that our solutions are actually fitting the patients much better, how can we generate this real-world evidence, and how can we actually ensure that we can do the studies much faster in order to actually get solutions out to the patients much faster than what we're doing today. So I would say that one of my previous roles has been as a paramedic in the Danish Army and Air Forces, and one of the key things that I've learned from that I'm dragging into this environment today of innovation is to adopt very quickly. Try to don't focus on the harm that you can actually do. Try to focus on the benefits that you can do here and now. So it's okay to do something wrong as long as you're actually improving what you're doing. So it's about, I would say, more about this positive thinking the whole time. Despite that everything is super dark around you, you have to always keep focus on the positive sides of your work. And I think that is driving innovation. That is driving the emphasis on that we don't give up here now. We just continue to work on towards our vision to help patients achieve healthy skin. So what is interesting is actually to try to imagine how this whole field will actually develop in the future and what will actually be the role of the pharmaceutical industry. To be able to answer this question, I think what is important is not to look at what is happening in our Western societies. It's actually try to see in a global scan, is there any trends that we're actually seeing today that things are being done in a different way. So the main problem that we are seeing right now is that doctors are seeing way too many patients. On average, a UK GP is seeing around almost 42 patients per day. On top of that, there's around 30 phone consultations per day. So in total, that's around 70 consultations per day. So that's a huge problem, right? Because the associations of GPs, they recommend that a GP should not see more than 25 patients a day. So if we as a pharmaceutical company should go in and help, it doesn't help to add on just a lot of digital noise into the space. What we need to do is actually try to focus on how can we actually ensure that when a doctor is seeing a patient, it's a patient that actually truly is needing their help, And whatever is being on top of that, so more mild diseases, should be done digital, in my opinion. And this is where the pharmaceutical industry should actually try to focus. Try to focus on and see how can we add value for the future of healthcare, where doctors should be used in a face-to-face consultation for more complex patients, and doctors that wants to be in the digital space should actually be leveraging artificial intelligence with respect to computational neural networks, machine learning algorithms that can help them in making a fast decision-making process, and then actually prescribe drugs in this online care manner. What is important to stress here is, as I was saying in the beginning, where is this happening already? And in China, for instance, we do see that companies are actually treating, some companies, telemedicine companies, are treating more than 300 million patients per year. That's a large number, 300 million consultations. And they even talk about referring patients to offline care. And then you may say, what's the quality of this? And what is interesting is that more than 90% of the patients are actually being taken care of in the online setting. And this is interesting, because if 90% of the patients being taken care of in the online setting, this is where the pharma industry also should focus on. Try to make benefits in the digital world with digital solutions, but also with our products, of course, and try to make an even better fit and differentiation of different solutions in order to achieve a better disease management plan for patients.